Chudan Zoki Choknam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyatsuchi Daki Chinyen Giped Sonam Ki Drola Bajir Sange Drupar Sho Chudan Soki Choknam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyatsuchi Daki Chinyen Giped Sonam Ki Drola Bajir Sange Drupar Sho. So we've been studying a text called the Good, something like that. The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Bodhisattva Charyavatara, which is the guidebook on becoming a saint, if you were going to look at it in that way. Or it's the guidebook to look for a method that you can reach enlightenment with, if you're going to look at it that way. Or it's the guidebook to being a bloody do-gooder. Yeah? So it's like the text that tells you what are the things, if you're going to take advantage of this precious human life and you've tried other ways to get happy and you're done with those old ways, chasing money, girls, drugs, rock and roll, whatever, it doesn't mean you have to give them up. It just means you have to give the attachment to them. Yeah? If you're done and realize that's not the way to transform a state of being to a state of complete happiness, then there's this guidebook. Yeah, the guide to bloody do-gooders. Do all these awesome things towards everybody else as much as you can, and it will transform your consciousness, the lens through which you experience reality. And so that book can be condensed into this thing called the 6 Perfections, which we haven't even touched. We'll touch on it today. And it's got 10 chapters, and the chapters walk you through what is it that's blocking you from actually being in a state of rapture all the time. What is it? Because it isn't in the stuff out there that was already discussed. There's something in you. Because it's in you, you can change it. And that is, just that fact alone is all you need to realize that your world can become something else. The fact that there is something you can do inside of you, the lens through which you look at the world. Changing that changes the world. So on that premise, you could do 1 trillion million things with this body and this mind. Which of those are going to be the ones that deliver you to a rapture where you're just in love all the time and in bliss all the time and at peace all the time? Is there such a thing? And if there is, let's find out. Where can I find that manual? And this is that guidebook. It's the guide to becoming a bodhisattva. It's the key ideas that will just say, if you shift this inside of you, then that should shift in your perception of out there. Yeah, and it boils down to taking care of everyone else. But that sounds bad to us. First of all, because we think it's impossible. Like, I can't take care of myself. Like, that's one of the reasons I didn't have children. I'm like, I can barely take care of this idiot. What if this idiot had another idiot? And then that idiot had had the same tendencies I had, and he was going to do stupid things. I can't manage 2 idiots, let alone feed them or do all that stuff. I don't know how parents do it, but it definitely consumes you. So I figured, I can't take care of another one person. How am I going to take care of everyone else? And so that was a blocker for us. And this text tells you how and why to overcome that. There's another blocker. Some people aren't worth saving. I like these people and I don't like these people. And this text helps you overcome that as well. And the text takes about a year to study. And we spent Oh, excuse me. No. This is a Buddhist class. And the text takes, we've spent a year on it, in the normal classes. And in the summary classes, we spent 2 hours last week. And part of that was reviewing something else. An hour and a half, maybe, So now you're going to have 20 minutes to review the first half of the text together for a couple of reasons. I need you to like each other. I need you to get to know each other. Secretly, I'm trying to get you to plant mental seeds of helping each other understand these concepts by sharing them to each other, which means it's not just Hector talking, oh, here's a list of important things to know, bye. It's actually watching you share with another person the conceptualizing of, is it true that by helping others I can transform my world? And you putting it into words and you asking these questions of each other is actually the stuff that makes it work. So in the next 20 minutes, we're going to have 4 groups. Yeah, 4 groups. We're going to get Sarah to take this corner. Stephen and Ming can take that back corner with Jacqueline. Actually, yeah. Rachel, you can take that corner. And Anthony, you can take this corner with Supriya and Alison. Yeah, so the goal is, I've got a few questions from the quiz from the ones before. I'm even giving you the cheat sheet so you can say, oh, is that right? But discuss and try and make the questions relevant to us and try and break the questions going, I don't think that, why? And try and break it openly with each other nicely. And I'll call you back when you're done. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Come get your quizzes, you bosses. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 quizzes sharing between the people that think I'm about to get the answers next. And 1, 2, 3, 4 answers. Thank you. And make them work. Yeah, like ask them. And guide them and teach them and make them work. Hi. Yes, thank you. What's that? Can I have the answers in Chinese, please? Yeah. You can do the answers in Chinese. Yeah. English and Chinese, thanks.
What she said.
No, I mean, they're awesome.
In our study of the Bodhisattva's way of literally in the question. So the Bodhisattva's way of life, but do you remember what it is?
Yeah.
Name the root text we use in the today.
Let's hear it.
I'm not lying to you, you said.
It's like I heard it.
You also can make information. Take these pictures, I can't take them. I never saw what happened to that.
They were married.
It would be the ultimate murder the world's most famous scholar on Harvard. And all of the monks, and all of the monks would take turns teaching. And so one day, kind of all surprised and kind of wish essentially, he said, you want me to teach something that you know, and we're going to teach you something new, and they were like, oh, and how do you okay, and so he taught this amazing text, like how to live like a person, and I started to levitating up and able to hear it, and all of the monks who were amazed, and there were only five who had such a power that they could actually no, I heard this, no, I heard that. The people who were in the final chapter had to utilize so there's this kind of beautiful story that's and later they and so they went and they of the wish for
nothing less than this precious wish to never transform your entire world into very big. Explain why nothing less than this precious wish to never transform your entire world into very big.
There was one that was really sexy. Everyone's talking. I feel like you know. Which can change the inferior body we have now into the
I don't know what the environment is. It sounds weird.
The next one
Hi.
is pretty recognized, which is that everything. This is the precious one. So, it's really hard
Good.
that which is what
She's good.
you should.
Good. Thank you. Good. I'm so happy to see you. Yeah. How are you? Good. Hector.
And Mark.
Mark.
Yeah, this is my first time to meet with a friend.
Oh, okay. So, probably, I would read them. So what's happening is they're all reviewing last week's class, so everybody's up to date. And then we can start class again. So you should just pick a group, pick someone that you like. I would recommend maybe that one.
Yeah.
That's the number. Okay.
Laura?
Oh, okay. So she knows the drill. And then, yeah, pick a group and say hi to them. Don't act in negative quiz, and then they just talk about what we covered last week. So it gives context for what I'm about to cover. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Hello, you. How are you? So nice to see you. Okay, no problem. Yeah. So good to see you. Mark, it's nice. Martín, no te hagas la mariposa que te da un chullazo, ¿eh? Mi madre es de Córdoba, de La Paz. Sí, recién me vino. Vivo en Córdoba. Wait, wow, welcome. Qué bien. That's awesome. Recién me vino.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah, I do already.
Like, say you're you, and you have to win. It's like you're walking around with everyone. Yeah. Like, what's the
Hi, how are you? It's so nice to see everyone sneaking. Welcome. Cool. Well, enjoy it. Come, they're just catching up to last class. Yeah, cool. So, Chloe. China.
Our impulse to provide others.
Wishing that we would be money for our own. that we are something that
I think it's unless you can use them, it's like the fire control the end into the they might set it.
That's it? You guys cheated, or because you're high achievers from China mostly, right? That's what it is. It's like we can do an exam really quickly. Yeah. I am me to you. just hang out and let the others finish and get to know each other and talk content. How long do you guys have? Is that just finished? Two more questions? They've got the Asia team over there, so but it in English. Yeah. How long we have Stephen, can you guys pick the most knowledgeable person in your group and send them here? I'm going to do play. And it can't be you or Jacqueline. So I'm going to play. I'm going to play. We're not doing a play. That you think knows the answers. Rachel, you got 1 minute and you got to pick one person in your group that probably knows the answers and send them at the front. And it can't be you. What you guys got to pick together? Someone that knows the answers. Sophia. Sophia. You got to choose between you guys, one person that knows the answers, and it can't be you or you, that you think knows the answers, and send them over here. And finish it.
Why are we doing it? It is. But what are we hoping to achieve?
You got one left. You have picked? Okay, we're ready. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I need your rep. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. I need your representatives. Who is it? Bring the cushion and take the floor. Yeah. Are you in? Hannibal, are you in? Grab the cushion and take the floor. No, you're ready. Stephen, do it for me. You can stand. You're going to stand. Yeah. You're going to put your back here, back to back. And you sit. You're facing here with your cushion here. Thank you. You're standing there. And move that way a little. So I can say, okay, cool. Hannibal. I don't know any of these. Wait, you can cheat? No, we can't cheat. Okay. On the floor, facing that way. Let's stop. And who's on your team? What up, dog? You're going to stand over there. You were part of the debate class. No, you're good. I'm going to show you this. So you can stand. Someone lend her mala. That's all the first I need a mala for Steve. Do you have a mala?
No.
So you can let me a mala. And you guys, Marty, the kids here. You didn't know that. I just asked you to volunteer a person that knows the answers. Yeah. Doesn't matter. And you should probably swim someone. Rachel, you got to try. You can change the person.
You shouldn't have put me up because I don't know this. Like I haven't been doing this. No, I can't cheat.
She doesn't. Okay. Ready?
She's somebody who's been coming to class. Have you been doing the work? Reading?
You guys are there. Hey, you gotta stand up. Oh, sorry. Stop cheating. Oh, we're doing it. Ladies and gentlemen. So you can stand here. Yeah, that's good. And Mackenzie, you're standing there. Since you've never done.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be a debate.
Yeah, if you pay attention. Oh, okay. So Stephen, demonstrate debate posture. Ladies and gentlemen, so the debate posture goes like this. On your left hand is, what's that mean?
Ignorance.
No, the left hand is, your right hand is
Passion.
method, and they come together. So the malas are on your left hand, yeah? And you're lifting them up,
Well, actually, it was supposed to be.
like sentient beings being lifted up from samsara, and then you're meeting method and wisdom as your foot stops down and makes, yeah? And then you ask a question that should scare the hell out of the opponent, right? So, and then the opponent has to give you an answer, and they can only give you the answer or yes or no. We're not going to play that rule. Do it again.
Can you believe it's not butter?
Yeah, do it again. Draw the beats out. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. You got to draw them up. Like you start that way and go, I'm about to scare you.
What would you do?
Okay, cool. So that's the posture. You can play with it. It doesn't matter, yeah? But you can sit down. Thank you, Stephen. There's a method, there's a structure, it's very detailed. But what I want to get to today is, we just did a quiz. We answered a bunch of questions, yeah? Hello. We answered a bunch of questions, but you answered them like I told you to answer them. And I want you now to ask these questions of that person. So you can get to ask the first question, yeah? And say, you can't tell me the name of the whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then whenever she gives you the answer, you're allowed to challenge her to try and say, yeah, you sure you got it wrong? Try and get why that's the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, good. And why does it matter or something? Let's go.
Francis Doe.
Yeah, good.
Nice.
Name the root text we'll be using in our study of the Bodhisattva way of life, its author and his approximate date.
It's by Master Shantideva, the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. I don't remember its book. I don't remember the Sanskrit.
Good.
Yeah,
You're all supposed to fight against her, not help her, okay?
She's supposed to make a statement though.
No, but we're not doing it like that. We're just asking like a normal person, yeah? But you can say, you can't tell me the name of the book called that we're studying, yeah? Let's try it that way.
You can't tell me the name of the book that we're
Should I
studying.
repeat what I said?
Yeah. Loud.
The Bodhisattva's Way of Life by Shantideva, approximately 700 AD. So there.
How do you know that is true?
And what would a normal person say to that? Because Geshe Michael told us. What would you say then? Just normal Mackenzie.
He's from a really good
Who's Geshe Michael?
No. So I would ask, so you would believe everything this Geshe Michael tells you? Because you're trying to prove that she knows the text. Yeah.
You went to a really good monk.
Okay, no, she didn't ask you a question yet.
So, you believe everything that Geshe Michael tells you to read?
I trust what he gets from scripture.
Ooh,
I trust his translations.
attack her.
And do you trust all translations?
Nice. It's a fair question.
The ones that I don't trust, I put on the shelf and think about. These ones I don't have to because it's the name of the book. So there.
Would you ask her any other questions? Like, how do you know that the stuff that he's...
Did you read the scripture?
I've read the assignments. No, I'll just say it to you.
Do you believe that she knows the text? Just from knowing her and her answers, would that satisfy you that she probably knows what she's talking about? That she probably gave you the right answer?
No.
You not?
Yeah,
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, what was, what could you teach me from the text?
I could teach you how to lead an ethical life.
How do you know this is the only way to live an ethical life?
Because I've seen its effect on my teachers, and they shine.
Ooh, like that one.
I'm going to leave it there because I want to play. Yeah, you can swap now. That's awesome. Nice answer. You can sit, you can stand. You get to ask the next question.
That's a hard one to respond.
Yeah. I bet you can't tell me that.
You can't tell me the 5 metaphors you describe the benefits for the wish.
That was good.
Actually, I can. An alchemical elixir because it will change your body and your mind. A precious jewel because it's hard to find and it will end the poverty of the world. An evergreen tree because it never dies and flowers all throughout the year. A great warrior because it will protect you from the greatest fear, and a fire at the end of an eon because it will burn away all of your past
She's
bad
cheating.
That's my
Nothing. I think you should. Do you believe in metaphors? You can swap because she killed her. Yeah, that's right. Do you believe in metaphors? Okay. What would have been a good question for me to ask about that?
Are there any other metaphors that you'd like to discuss?
Are there any other metaphors? He could have put doubt in her, going, I don't remember the eon one. Can you explain what that means? Or he could say, I bet you can't say them in order and backwards. Like, he could try and get her to doubt her answer. And the point is not to break her to doubt her answer, but to get her to be firm that she knows the answer. And if she doesn't know it, then this exposure will help her be certain. And that's the benefit of this. So you're doing a great kindness by going, I don't believe you. And do you believe everything your teachers say? Like, you probably believed her, but you want to push her to the point where her logic begins to come to an edge of breaking for her. So she can go, no, oh, because my teachers shine. And that gives me confidence that it's an ethical way of life. And that was solid. That was a solid answer. That was really cool.
Erin, do you want inspiration?
No, it's not.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. Is it, am I showing too much?
Don't cheat. Chinese contingent, Ming is cheating. Yeah. Listen, they go.
Which foot do I step on?
This left one.
So I go.
So you're bringing up
You're bringing
these,
up the hell being.
the hell beings, and I'm going to save all of you, yeah, and smash the earth, shake the hells.
No wins.
So,
no.
however you want to ask that question.
I wonder if you even know why
Good.
the wish for, or the bodhicitta is the only way that you can get full enlightenment. Prove me wrong.
Because the bodhicitta way of life is to reach full enlightenment so that I can enlighten all other beings.
But why would that be the only way?
Because
Nice. Microphone drop.
that you're doing the greatest good for the greatest amount of people when you reach bodhicitta.
But can't you do it without trying to achieve it for all people?
No.
What about?
That's so cool that she
What
just
about
went,
the?
no. Because then the onus, she's just using the only power she's got, which is yes, no, this kind of thing. So that now the onus is on her to find a question that will break her logic. So that was a really good answer.
So why would it be necessary to? Is there not another way to achieve to accumulate that much merit or wisdom without all beings.
She's like,
You sure?
No, because if you want to feel the enlightenment from all beings, you need to give it to all beings.
whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Anyone you like, because you gave such an amazing answer.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Can I ask one that's like off of that?
You can ask whatever,
Like,
yeah,
following
yeah.
that chain of
He's
thought,
up
like,
for
that's
it.
not the same thing.
Yeah. Foot up, leg up as the thing goes up.
Okay. I bet you don't know why achieving enlightenment for the sake of all beings is different than achieving enlightenment just for the sake of yourself.
Oh, well, for the sake of yourself is reaching nirvana, which is different than enlightenment, which is what you're talking about, the being enlightened for the sake of other people. It's enlightenment.
Are you saying that nirvana is not enlightenment?
It's a type of enlightenment, but it's not the one that's most desirable because it's only for yourself.
Why is it most desirable if it's for others?
Well, I mean, duh. I mean,
Okay.
you're helping so many more people. What's, that's kind of good. It's a good answer.
What is the difference between the lesser path and the Mahayana path in terms of if you achieve enlightenment and you ultimately will help everyone anyway, what's the difference?
Can you repeat the question?
Like why are you gonna help everyone anyway?
Why am I going to help anyone anyway?
If you achieved enlightenment.
I think what she's saying is if you enlightenment, nirvana you called it, yeah? If you achieve it, you're going to be happy, right? What's the difference between being happy? You're going to be happy either way, whether you help everybody or not. So what's the difference? I think that's what she's asking.
Well, you're just ending suffering for yourself, right? I mean, that's kind of selfish.
No, but you're happy.
Yeah, that's fine. You're happy, but I mean, what's the point of that? Everyone else is that's just whack.
Is there a difference between you being happy and you helping everyone else achieve enlightenment?
Is there a difference? Yeah, very. I mean, I would be happy helping everybody else, but being blissed out for yourself is just like lonely. Like you're just gonna be by yourself. What's the point of that?
Are you happy with the question answer? Like, if you lost your train of question, he won the debate, which is good. No, which is good for him. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, the actors, thank you very much. You guys did awesome, thank you. Without prepping, without taking the debate course, without doing logic. Ming, you did awesome, thank you.
Yeah, enjoy.
Okay, we're ready?
Hector, you're not on.
I'm not up? Okay, how's that? How about now? Is that up? The point of that little exercise and the homework was we're learning at a very accelerated pace a ton of ideas that came from truth spoken by a being who reached enlightenment, right? So someone just went, I just saw a reality that pertains to this world, and for 50 years he taught it. Then for 2,500 years, people have been trying to use it to wake up, to get happy, to reach enlightenment and so on. And there's commentary after commentary, and we are catching a summarized version of those 2,500 years worth of commentaries on those original teachings. And that alone is a task that will take us a lifetime. This course gets the condensed essence of each of them in a way that you can put it together to create an experience that helps you reach enlightenment. The first thing we've got to do is understand what is all the parts that we're putting together. So that's hard enough to come to these courses and memorize these lists and these new words and these ideas that are upside down for us. The next level of wisdom or understanding we can get is what we began here. Once you've got the structure, oh, I need a carburetor, and I need pistons, and I need this, then you want to know, how does it work? Yeah? Okay, I've got the list of all the things that I've been told I need, but you should, now that you've got them, begin to doubt them in an intelligent way by saying, hold on, why would helping everybody else get me enlightened? Yeah? Because isn't nirvana enlightenment? So why don't I just reach nirvana? Enlightenment is enlightenment. There's nirvana and there's Buddhahood. Both of them are enlightenment. Enlightenment is your mind awake. One of them is an experience of, for myself, nirvana. One is an experience of Buddhahood, me, and an entire experience of everything up place. And so we've learned that, but now to get to the nitty-gritty, you were asking, why the hell do that? Why not just get happy? Why do you have to help all these other people? They don't want to be helped. They're addicted. Yeah? Leave them alone. So it's a really good practical way to try and break the assumptions that we got when we began learning this thing. And you could, and in the monastery, you'd do that for 3-4 hours a night after you'd learned the concept every day for 20 years. So we have a whole course on that and a course on logic and how to debate, but don't lose that. Yeah, it's exciting to learn Buddhist ideas. I don't want you Buddhists. I don't want to be Buddhist in the intellectual sense of the word or religious sense of the word. I want you, as the essence of Buddha, wake up. I want you to be wake-upists, you know, to wake up. I want you to be real wake-upists without going weird conspiracy theories and all that stuff, but just real wake up to see what is the illusion that I'm marred with every time I deal with reality. And these things can really help you if you get past the, I learned the labels and I know the concepts. So today we're going to do part 2 of this incredible book. So in this incredible way, up to the part of taking joy. The first 3 chapters dealt with what's the benefit, do you remember, of the wish? It's like, this is an awesome thing, you really want it. Then before you get this big fervor to wake up, you need to purify the things that are obstacles from you doing that. And you do that through this thing called the 4 powers, which is a whole practice, the 4 forces, etc. So you've got to purify, then you've got to generate good energy, right? Chapter 3, you've got to generate the things that will cause this wish to wake up in you. So it's inside of you, this fervor to really see if you can transform this world for you and others. And in that chapter, they also talk about doing a formal ceremony of getting the wish. Yeah, so there's 2 ceremonies. We're not going to talk about it in this course, but in the previous courses, we've talked about the steps of the ceremony that you would do to try and generate these vows that you take to make this a reality in your mind. And in the middle of the ceremony, there's this beautiful thing, and in the quiz, it'll ask you what are the 4 things that uplift your heart or something after the ceremony, yeah, to keep this wish growing and taken care of. And it's this beautiful verse. Does anybody remember? So imagine this, right? Imagine you've studied a method to really wake up. Imagine that you are becoming so proficient at it, you really want to develop that state of mind inside of you. It's called wanting bodhicitta, wanting to wake up, wanting to reach this enlightened state for the sake of every being that you know in your world is looking for happiness in all the wrong places. Will they get happy getting drunk? Absolutely. But will that end? Yes. And will they be happy then? No. So can you call a happiness that ends a real happiness? And if there is a real happiness, one that doesn't end, isn't that worth pursuing? So if you got that about all these sentient beings looking for happiness and you understood it, at least intellectually, you develop this wish to reach it. Yeah, I want to wake up, I want enlightenment. I want to see if that's possible. And if you're going to do that, you could do the track of, I'm just going to do it for me because it's too hard to worry about everyone else. Or if I'm going to do the same actions to wake up, why not think of my mom and my sister and my brother and my lover and my ex-lover and my enemy and everybody who's just like crabs in a pot of boiling water crawling over each other to get out. Why not just help everyone get out? Yeah. And so we've reached now the point in the book, this magnificent manual that says, this is how you get that wish inside of you. This is how you make it real and grow. You've reached the point where you're so committed, you're going to do a ceremony to try and think like that, to try and, even though it might not come naturally, you're going to take vows or promises to say, I'm going to try. Yeah? I'm going to try and do the actions of a person that lives like that. And at that point in the ceremony, this verse comes up, which just breaks my heart every time I read it. It's so stunning. And at that point, you're supposed to snap your fingers, and this vow, this promise begins to sprout inside of you. And this is what it reads. You say, once you get that, the beginning of that wish, you say, finally, now my life has some meaning. Born as a human, today I have joined the family of the wake-upists. I am a child of the wake-upists, yeah, of the Buddhas. And so, and it's laden with meaning. All the commentaries have a bunch of meaning behind it. You know, it's like, my life actually has some meaning. I've reached a human life. A human life can just be like any other life on this planet, come and go. But what is the meaning? What would be a real meaning, a deep meaning of being human, you know? And how would the Buddhas, my new family, see that? And it would be, I think, similar to, you know, those videos we see where a kitten gets fed by a dog mom, you know? And we're like, oh, it didn't eat it, it's taking care of it. It's not being selfish and thinking only of its own instincts. It's taking care of another in a way that's unexpected. Yeah, in a way that puts aside its instincts. Like we as humans are just forever taking care of ourselves. And we reach this meaning of being human, which is, what if we take care of others? And Buddhas would be looking at us, if there is such things as enlightened beings, minds that have experienced an awakening and developed a state of being beyond the temporal, they would be looking at us like a dog mom taking care of rats or kittens or ducks or whatever you've seen in those videos, going, that is extraordinary that they've gone beyond their instinct of being selfish, of just taking care of ourselves, and have extended their way of being to take care of others. And Buddhists would be looking at us going, wow, something's happening over there to Supriya. She's waking up. And so you become part of my family, which means you get all the benefits of being part of my family. We'll take care of you. We'll send you more signals. We'll try and take care of you that way. And I'll think of you as my child, as part of the family that thinks this way, that develops their life that way. So a special attention goes towards things like that. So I love that verse. The question will ask you, what are the 4 things that uplift your heart? And the 2 forms of the wish. What are the 2 forms of the wish, those of you who have studied before?
In the form of a prayer and in the form of an action.
Yeah, so you could get this wish to wake up for the sake of everyone else. You can get it as in the form of the wish for a wish. Yeah. Oh, I wish I could be like that. Or I wish I could have that wish. Or I wish I could have that impulse. And then there was a time where 2 ceremonies were given. A ceremony to give you the wish for the wish, the form of a prayer, it's called. And then when you do this ceremony to actually get the wish in the form of action, which is you take vows to say, I now promise to live in accord with this. If I was in that family, I'd behave like that family. Instead of being selfish, I will move that impulse to take care of another. Yeah. So your life becomes fruitful, might be a good answer. It really is, to be human is more than just consuming until we expire. It's to connect with others. And so you'd have a truly meaningful human life, the family of enlightened beings, and you're the child of enlightenment. So that would be the answer for that. That you're supposed to take great joy as you say these words, and post that in the middle of the ceremony, you're supposed to say, sit down. We've done the whole ceremony, you've done all this study, you've thought through it, sit down, review this verse, and see what that means to you. And it's the very beginning of that seed in your heart that says, I will become a bodhisattva, I will reach enlightenment for the sake of everyone else. So traditionally, you're supposed to sit there and ponder this bloody thing. Go, what am I going to do with it? And can I feel it grow? And do I sense that beings that have reached that state are helping me to grow it and develop? So that's something that the text is beautiful, and the commentary is detailed about when we see that. Another thing you'll find in the text and in your homeworks for next week is that the power to remove suffering. Chapter 4 then talks about, if you have this wish, if you have this fervor inside of you, how is it that it can destroy suffering? And can someone give me some ideas? If you actually had understanding karma and emptiness, which is what we've gone over here over and over, and inside of your heart, you had this wish that every time you saw someone, you just wanted their happiness. You loved them in a higher sense that you've ever loved before. How would that destroy suffering? And pretend you're debating, pretend you're going, how would that? Because that's what this is arguing.
How would the wish remove the suffering of other sentient beings?
Yeah. How does the wish to reach enlightenment for the sake of everyone have the power to remove that suffering from beings? How does it have the power just to wish it?
The wish is a cause for seeing emptiness, and then from there you're like on the fast track to Buddhahood.
Give me more.
I think also when you infuse your actions with this wish, it's like you're setting out a path before you to walk on.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a cause for your enlightenment.
Like it's supercharged? Yeah. It's like supercharged.
Give me answers. It doesn't have to be right. Just think through it.
I have no idea.
Which I love it because it's an honest answer.
So I'm just wondering because if eventually you become like one day like hundreds of thousands, billions of lives in the future, you can become a teacher, then you can come back and help that person. So by wishing them well, you're making yourself closer to becoming a teacher and then being able to teach them one thing.
Okay, cool. Nice. I like that.
One reason to get rid of your suffering because it takes your focus off of you and onto others, and you're working to heal others, and that automatically is helping.
Okay, so
Their suffering is also a projection.
good. We can't avoid this point, right? We can't avoid where do things come from, and then where does reality come from? Okay, and we have to get that to see what you said, which is if you're watching yourself helping another, you're saying sometime in the distant future, I'm going to become a teacher and I can really help others, right? Just because I'm wishing it. How does that work, right? And so you can't avoid that question. How is it that helping another person actually helps them? Yeah. And so there are schools of thought, and how it helps them means it's arising that way. You see the help arising in them. Oh, they've been healed, or they've been taken care of, or they are now happy. That in Buddhist terms is called dependent arising. Here is an event arising. Someone's happy. Yes, a dependent arising. And so there are schools of thought that says, how did that come about? How is it that that comes about? Is it through wishing nice thoughts? Who's wished nice thoughts towards somebody and they didn't work? Put up your hands. Yeah. Okay, so does that mean it's not nice thoughts? Not yet, okay? We can destroy that slowly. Who's had nice thoughts and actually seen it help? Okay, now we're back to square one, right? So
are you saying bodhicitta is the same thing as a may stop?
I'm saying the wish. Yeah?
Good question.
Yeah. I'm saying it's a wish, right? It's a wish that's positive in nature to help others. I'm saying it's a nice thought. It's okay?
But I can't change someone
I
else's.
want to get you to an answer. I don't want to
But I
debate.
can't change someone else's karmas, right? So even if
Why does it sometimes work and sometimes not work? We just gave that answer.
because
It's what she's trying to say. It depends on their karma, can they receive it or not?
we're still in samsara.
Because there's a time lapse. What you're seeing is the effect of karma you planted earlier. So if it's working or not working, that's because of something you did earlier. If you do something good now, then later you'll see the positive.
So me doing something good now doesn't necessarily mean I will now get a good result. Is that consistent with our experience of life?
Yeah.
Who's done nice things and gotten a bad result? Who's done nice things and gotten a good result? Who's done bad things and gotten a good result? Who's done bad things and gotten a bad result? Yeah. Right?
We're still in samsara though.
But I want to get deeper. What you're saying is there's a time gap between action and reaction, cause and effect. Yeah? How is that possible? How do you know that?
And you have to do it yourself experientially.
How do you know that there's a time delay between what you do and what happens?
Well, if you're doing something good and something bad happens, then you know there's a time lapse because it's not a direct correlated outcome. The cause and effect is next to each other in time.
Well, if you believe in karma, then if you were to step on some ant's back, then your back would immediately be
If
broken.
there wasn't a time delay, you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. All you have to do is just look at nature, like look at your world. Your world is like plant a seed and then get the instant tomato, right? And eat it. It never is like that in nature, cause and effect so quickly. Yeah? It always is a time gap. And so if we've got that down, thank you so much. And how did you read my mind?
I just saw you thirsty.
You didn't see my thirsty, you saw my mental picture of exactly a cup of bubbly water with ice. Uncanny. It looks exactly like that. Yeah? Amazing.
So what were you thinking about the time lapse?
So much for time lapse.
It took you like a minute.
Yeah,
Should have been.
my karma showed me. It took a minute. You've got to get this. You've got to get this problem in your head, and you've got to try and fix it. Okay. What she said is true. What he said is true. What Ming said is true. There is a time delay between cause and effect. Yeah. How long? We don't really know. Why is that important in this philosophy, in this engine we're putting together? Because we're saying that the world, and this you've got to understand, does not have a nature like that we experience. Remember, if you were here, I said, what is this? And you said, it's a computer. Is it not a computer?
No.
No, it's a computer, right? Is computer, this thing that we call computer, is it in that object radiating out computer?
No.
How do you know that's not true? Because ant would come and look through it, or cat would see it as kitty litter, right? A pee pad.
Or
Yeah.
a sleeping pad.
Or a sleeping pad, or an annoying you in the typing stuff pad, yeah? Which means they can't see it as computer. It is in their consciousness, through their eyes and senses, not radiating out computer. A device that we can send communications to, it's not there for them. We think they're stupid, but they think we're stupid. We're sitting there in this perfectly good PP or sleeping pad going da da da, and we're in their way. You know, really it is that for them, and we're wrong in their perspective. Because the illusion is that it appears that this object is computer. We all agree, so those that disagree, we've got to punch them or say they're stupid or push them out of the way. Even though that's reality. Reality is that in the moment that the cat is experiencing this, and I'm experiencing this, they can't be computer and PP pad in here. This can't be both emanating out. This is neither. This is blank. This is empty of being computer. That's what the word emptiness means. It is empty of being that over there by itself, without me, without a being observing it. This is hyper important. It is a computer for us because we are human. It is a PP pad for all kittens because this is
Humans who have the karma for it.
correct. Humans who have the karma for it. You're getting more detail, but the essence you get it, right? The essence you get. As soon as I put this object in front of humans, they say computer, naturally. As soon as you put it in front of PP pad, in front of kittens, it is PP pad. It can't be both. It, separate from us, can't be both. It can't be atomically radiating out that stuff that forces you to say computer or PP pad. Impossible. And as soon as there's a cat in here and a human, that occurs, that is reality. And because we don't like it, we think the cats are stupid. And because we're in the way of the cat thinks we're stupid. And so we fight between species for time on the keyboard, right? Get off my keyboard, you ruin my keyboard. And we do actions towards it. This just proves that this object is empty of being computer from its own side. That's all emptiness means. And dependent origination means that it is computer for a human mind. And it's not by choice, because I wish it was God. And it's not, it's still computer. Computer coming this way, PP pad coming this way. There's something in the consciousness, in the mind, in the observer of those two beings, correct? That sounds reasonable, even though it's a stretch, but it sounds way more reasonable than this really is a computer. That we already know is a problem. So you now understand the emptiness of this object we call computer. It is computer for us, it is PP pad for kittens. It can be both at the same time if there is a kitten and a human. And as soon as everybody leaves, no kittens, no humans, it is, you get that hollowness, right? It is empty of being either of those things, this object. And because it's empty, because it doesn't have a single particle of being computer from its own side, because of that, we can have our minds experience this as computer. We can be projecting that reality not by choice, it's being forced upon us by our past karmas that take time to ripen. Something I did in the past made this into the experience I'm having with it today, which is a useful tool to communicate. Something I did in the past to help others work a tool to communicate just created an experience of a complex tool to communicate. No problem. Yeah? So that's what's called dependent origination. It's not coming from the object, it's coming from our minds. And if that's true, and that's a big if, and you have to check it, and we've got course upon course upon course on it. But if that's true, that reality is being projected from your consciousness through the senses to these objects that don't have a nature, right? Everything you can see, everything you can taste, everything you can hear, everything you can feel, everything you can think. Everything is like that. It does not have a nature. Is cold, bubbly water amazing? Not in China. Am I right?
No.
No? They won't. They will not let me have it, right? They take it away from me. They're like, Hector, you're hurting your body. Yeah, no, yeah, every time we go. Yeah, it's cold and bubbly. Both bad things. Yeah?
They drink hot tea.
Yeah. So is there yummy, excellent goodness? If I force down the throat of a nice Chinese person in Beijing, will they feel the bliss that I feel when I'm tasting this.
No.
So it's not coming from this. It is the complete experience in this being that is having that. Where did that come from? It didn't come from there. It came from something here. If you get that philosophically, and I can see that you're holding on to it, you're like, okay, get to the point. I've got it, I don't want to lose it, get to the point. If you've got that, that everything is empty, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means it just doesn't exist that way. It's empty of being that way. But it is something dependent on whoever's looking. Yeah, dogs, cats. It is something. So there is a reality. It's not that because things are empty, there's no reality. There is a reality, and that reality is 100% dependent on the stuff in your consciousness, the stuff in your mind, the imprints, the actions of body, speech, and mind that we've put in there, recorded in there, witnessed ourselves doing there. If that's how reality really works, which is what the Buddha said and has been trying to teach, then it makes complete sense that being completely loving and caring towards every person and wishing their happiness and seeing yourself giving them happiness is recording in your mind seed after seed after seed after seed of everything I ever wanted. Everything you ever wanted. I really want that. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, I wish it did. I'm going to try it. And so my mind is now recording forever towards everything and everyone and every being. Every dot in my universe is filled with the wish for getting you woke up, getting you really happy, no more suffering. And that, in the reality we used to think, the reality out there, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah, like you all, some of you know my mum's undergoing cancer treatment, right? I have no clue whether it's going to work or not work, or the meditations or chemo, I've got no clue. Either do you, either does she, either does the doctor. 70% chance that it's not going to work. 70% chance, you know? It's just chance based on everything we've seen in the past. But we don't know for that object, yeah? And we live our lives not knowing. But with this theory, you just prove that this doesn't have a nature, that the nature comes from us, and the theory is that whatever you put in is whatever you experience. And if that's true, then this becomes the only path, the complete path, to fill your mind, the projector of this reality, with every possible goodness, every possible wisdom, every possible happiness, every removal of suffering towards any moving creature, every sentient thing. And the result of that is sometime in the future, I will be forced to experience everything in the way that I intended it. Because of the time delay, how long in the future depends on how intense and the practices and theories on how to make that pop up quicker. So if you get that and nothing else tonight, you've just figured out the mechanics of why the Bodhisattva path, the path to help everybody else through kindness, the wish to wake up, to see reality and help everyone else with it, is the only way you're going to fix reality and everybody help you get there. Do you see that? You will be forced to witness all of reality waking you up, which means you will be forced to see all of reality as an awoke being, a Buddha, a Buddha. And that to me is worth chasing, even if it's a theory, because I know the other stuff doesn't work. How much chemo should I give my mum to stop that suffering? No one knows. No one really knows. But do I know that the impressions in her mind in this powerful time are going to have a strong impact in that mind, and that mind is going to cause some other experience in the future? Yeah. So what should I do with my mum? Help her mind be filled with love and compassion, and review of all the time she's had love and compassion for everyone else, every time she's taken care of someone else. And then the chemo might work. You see what I mean? Because it's empty of having that nature. It will work dependent on what her seeds are. That's why sometimes chemo works and sometimes doesn't. And it doesn't mean you stop doing chemo. That's a misunderstanding. It doesn't mean you stop going to work, yeah? But it means that if you have the seeds in your mind, you will be forced to it. You can't avoid an experience equal to what you've planted. And if what you've planted is genuine and kind and open and loving and caring and working, it will be in that flavor. Apples give apples, they don't give bananas. Apple seeds. So with that, here is the list of why this wish, this powerful wish, because it's in you and you see yourself helping everyone, you will be helped. Summary. So the wish destroys the Lord of Death within every living being. What the hell? That didn't come to mind straight away. Think about it. If this doesn't have a nature of being glass from its own side, it is forced upon us. If this doesn't have a nature of being computer from its own side, it is forced upon us. If this doesn't have a nature of tasting nice from its own side, it's forced upon us based on whether you've given good drinks towards others, drinks that they like, yeah?
Coconut ice cream.
Then coconut ice cream, right? Every time Stephen gives me coconut ice cream, he knows he's planting a bad seed. He can't say because he enjoys it, he's planting a good seed. He knows deliberately that someone will force down his throat poo-poo ice cream in the future.
But you don't know what his intention is.
Oh, I do. He tells me very clearly. So death, the process of death is exactly the same. If the theory is that our world is nothing but our projection upon objects that are empty of that nature, meaning I have a complete sensation about this object, and I know philosophically this object has none of that nature, the whole nature is coming from me, then even death, the experience of this body terminating, does not have to have the nature you currently think of that experience. It is just your mind, moment to moment, shifting, just like it's shifting right now, just like it's shifting when you fall asleep and when you wake up, and when someone punches you really hard and you seem unconscious and then you wake up. Like, there is a process that happens and an arising that happens. And that we call death, because we don't see Hector after his body stopped moving. We think Hector's gone. Is Hector gone? Give me an answer.
Yes.
Hector, as we think of Hector, is gone.
That's closer to a good answer. Is Hector gone after he's dead?
His body's gone.
His mind.
That's the question. Define Hector. Define Hector, right? And you said his body is gone, right? The body we call Hector, and even the body you can't say is Hector, right? So you grab the 5-year-old Hector body, put it over here. You get the 50-year-old Hector body, put it over there. Which one's Hector? Oh, are they? Can Hector be both?
Yes.
Dependent on? Of course, yeah. So are both of them Hector? Is every body I've ever had, is that Hector?
No. I mean,
she's like, define Hector. Find me Hector.
Right.
And you can't find Hector. Hector is a changing thing, moment to moment.
But your mind stream is Hector.
The body is a changing thing, moment to moment. My mind is not Hector. From its own side, its own nature, it can't be Hector. If it was, the first thought when I had a thought after being birthed would have been, I am Hector. Oh, I am Hector. Reboot. It doesn't have that nature. You know? And we just habituate that nature. The bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, the trick to enlightenment is identity. We identify as something. And we identify as Hector, or as my body, or as my mind, or as my gender, or as my age, or as a male, or as a intelligent, or as in dumb, or as in lonely, or as in broke, or as in sad, or as in happy, or as in... We identify because we need to hold on to something because it's too much for this system of body and mind to have all of existence in its awareness at once. To analyze it perfectly, every atom in this room and every movement in every body, and that can't be a Hannibal, that's a collection of multicellular life form blood. We can't do that. We don't have the capacity. So we do these shortcuts that say, oh, that's a Hannibal. And now I'm not aware, it's subconscious in me, that Hannibal means all these things, all the history I've related to him. Yeah, it means all my friendships, it means now a baby, it means all this extra stuff, right? So when I say Hannibal, when I give it a word, first there was the word, right? Is that how it starts?
It's like in Gospel John, yeah, first is the word of us.
Yeah. So we give it a word, and the word just fills it with meaning that is sitting subconsciously in us, and that's enough for us to work 70% of the time, like chemo, like aspirin, like bubbly water, because we are doing a shortcut to fit it into this experience. But reality isn't this. There is no Hannibal like that. Hannibal is way more complex than that, and not even Hannibal knows it, because Hannibal's doing the shortcut about Hannibal too. That enlightenment is understanding that there is no identity that has a nature from its own side. There's no event that has a nature from its own side. That all of it is dependent on what we've done towards others in the past. It's everything our minds recorded in doing. And when I say towards others in the past, I'm including yourself locked up in your toilet where nobody's watching you, and you're doing whatever you're doing in there, or thinking whatever you're thinking in there. That's also being recorded by you, for you, to enjoy later. You know? I mean, it began as a joke, but it became a bad habit between my siblings and I. We thought it was funny. My parents divorced when we were in teenage. We moved from Argentina to Australia. My parents divorced, and we ping-ponged between mum and dad, and our mum and our dad used us as who can dislike the other one more. So I'm going to buy you a new house. You guys move in with me. Yay, we're moving with mum. Dad's like, I bought a new car. You guys come with a boat and the car. Yeah, we're moving with dad. Sorry, mum. You know, so it became this sort of ping-ponging, this 4 kids ping-ponging. We sort of figured it out really quickly. And at one point, when we got a little older, both mum and dad left, and it was just the 4 of us living in a house with no mum, no dad. Right? We're all teenagers, and we ruled. We're like, sorry, you can't stay with us anymore, right? So and we had this sort of rebellion against our parents for a while, right? But it was fun, it was funny, and let them live their lives and we would live our own life. But they would ring on the dial-up phone and say, hey kids, how you doing? Doing really good, blah, blah, blah. But we were smoking weed, we were doing all things we weren't supposed to do. And so as a joke, it began, my brother picking up the phone going, yeah, mom, I love you, whatever. And then she'd hung up and he'd go, bitch. And we'd all like, ha ha, funny, 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 right? Like she didn't know our intention. So we began this terrible habit of whenever mom or dad called, we're like, yeah, dad, we love you. And everyone's watching there, the audience were like, yeah, dad, oh, we miss you so much. Yeah, we'll take care. You know, like, and it was just this sarcastic thing. And it became this terrible habit, even though it began as a joke and no parents were watching. Did we or did we not suffer the effects of that? Yeah, we totally did. And it became this kind of paranoia, like, what are you saying behind our backs? Right? And we all had this thing. We talked about it later on in life. And I'm certain it began by that silly joke that nobody's watching what I'm doing in my own mind. Yeah, my parents weren't watching, but we were, and it's being recorded and it's going to have an effect. I digress. Bottom line, like that, even the experience of death can be terminated. And that is it's a suffering in this world that can be terminated. The poverty of every living being, what is the poverty of every living being?
Ignorance. Some lack.
The lack of.
Yeah, like what's our biggest lack? What's our biggest problem as humans?
Never being satisfied.
Yeah, that's the biggest poverty, this drive to want to get, to want to that, and I want that. And as soon as you get it, you want it more, you want another. Yeah, and so the misunderstanding of where the world comes from is what causes that. Illness, the same, it doesn't have a nature. General suffering of the cycle and the particular suffering of the lower realms. And here's to your answer. The bottom one was, how can the wish help, right? A person can reach full enlightenment, which is a difference from nirvana. Once they're enlightened, they can actually perfectly help everyone else if they can see cause and effect perfectly. If they've achieved that thing, they know exactly what to do to help others. And then it's on their karma to see if they take it up or not. The main thing I want to talk about tonight in the next 20 minutes, and then I'll just show you all the other important and interesting things in the text. So the text will go through lists like this to say, look, if you get this wish, it can remove death, it can remove suffering, it can remove illness, it can remove a continuum of being that is worse than this one. That's all that list is saying. Then there's another list that's saying why it's great, and there's another list that says why you should do this and the other, and I'll get you those lists. But the one that it gets really to the core of it is like, where is our suffering? Where is the source of our suffering? And if you understand that misunderstanding generates the source of the suffering, what does that produce in our mind? If our world is projecting our mind, where is suffering? In your mind, right? But what particular flavor is it that it's suffering? Because sometimes you're happy, right? You're not always suffering.
Temporary. Temporary.
The temporary nature of things, is that what you're saying? Okay. That things are temporary. Okay. Yeah, I don't know the question. I'm trying to get you to say mental afflictions. So I really don't know if I asked the right question. What I'm trying to get you to say is that when your mind is afflicted, when we have mental afflictions because we don't understand reality, because we think things have a nature, yeah, our minds become afflicted. They have a problem. The cat has a problem when we think of this as a computer, and when it thinks of this as a pee-pee pad, we get afflicted, right? And our mind grows those afflictions. It perpetuates those afflictions. And in Buddhism, there's this list of 84,000 mental afflictions. They're called nyomos in Tibetan, right? What are they called in Sanskrit?
Kleshas.
Kleshas, yeah, cool. So there's this beautiful section in the text that talks about how would you eliminate suffering? What is the main target of eliminating suffering out of all these things? And it would be attack the mental afflictions. Attack those things in your mind that actually cause you to do actions in your world that would harm rather than help. Because as you watch yourself doing actions that harm, they're being implanted in your consciousness, producing harm for yourself. So if you could break the misunderstanding that causes you to harm beings, these mental afflictions, you could stop the continuum of suffering. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, so I should have just said that rather than ask the stupid question to try and get you to tell me mental afflictions, yeah? So for those that are interested, in the Buddhist world, we look at consciousness as having two big divisions, main mind and then mental functions. And then there are schools about how many mental functions. But main mind is like this raw consciousness, the stuff that all these mental functions of discrimination and so on occur. You can look at distinct functions within the mind, but they're all sitting on the main mind. Yeah. So why do mental afflictions, nyomos, afflicted moments of mind, actually hurt us? I gave you the answer about 3 minutes ago.
Plants the seed of suffering.
Yeah, correct. It plants the seed of suffering. Why? So if I thought this was really a computer, yeah, from its own side, and the cat got it wrong, and the cat is bad, right? Because it didn't understand what this is. What would I do to the cat? I would try and, remove it, right? Or eventually it would hurt it because it's going towards an object it really likes. It really likes that object. Yeah, or if I thought this was really good drink, or coconut ice cream was really good from its own side, and I forced someone to have coconut ice cream all the time, would I? And I knew that they hated it, but I was certain coconut is good, and so I should try and make them eat it. Would I be causing a good imprint or a negative imprint in my mind? Negative, right? Because I see that it's causing suffering and I do it anyway. I see that the other person is hurting.
Unless you're trying to teach them a valuable lesson.
Yeah, but what about taking that as an analogy of giving a shot to prevent a disease? It's hurting the kid for a child, it's hurting the child. But
Yeah, cool.
But you have to do the greater good, you have to do the most good for the most people.
No, that's a really good question. What's your answer?
You still collect the karma if you witness someone experiencing suffering, and then you have the karma of the greater bliss. So it's like the story of when the Buddha had the clairvoyant experience of knowing that someone was going to kill tons of people and collect the bad karma, that he said, may I collect that karma? And then he killed the guy. And then he went straight to hell and he came right back.
But so like clairvoyance notwithstanding, like
clairvoyance notwithstanding.
But like doesn't like a pre-enlightened person need to cultivate, like, giving your mom treatment, like you need to cultivate seeing that as a potential good.
Yeah.
Or like giving your child a shot is like you need to cultivate, like is there not an ingredient of that?
Yeah.
Of course. You're living in a reality where if the cat peed on this object as much as he wants to or she wants to, it would harm so many things, right? Everyone would not be able to get an email. The cat will continue to pee on other people's computers, causing them to get hurt. So I have to try, based on the reality that I'm experiencing that isn't coming this way, it's still coming that way, and it has its limitations. It is a computer, and it is a cat, and it is PP, and PP in computer no work. Yeah. So I still have to say, even though it's causing some suffering to the cat, how do I minimize that suffering, remembering what I'm planting as I'm doing my action to the cat, and try and prevent it from causing pain?
So then you're getting both causes then. You're just trying to balance it out in this positive direction.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as this just occurred to me, like I think it's also important to think about how your mind reflects on the action after you committed it, for example. So if like in your heart, if you know that it's the right thing, then perhaps you're more likely to reflect on it as this great thing that you did. And then you're planting the seeds to reframe it as more positive than it was even in the instant that you planted it. So like shifting.
So I feel like a lot of these examples assume clairvoyance, and we so it's like, well, if you knew that was the best thing, it's like there is like a reality that we don't often know what is the best thing. So we need to like we need to balance. No, but we don't just like fake that everything that we're doing is right. We need to strike a balance between like
what we are
examining its emptiness, examining that the thing may not be the right thing, but we're always striving to do the right. So there's like this like, we redirect ourselves towards what we think is clairvoyance, but we need to recognize that we're not in order to see that we're seeing things wrong.
But there's some things you can assume with logic, right? Once you get the logic right, which is cause and effect, never fail. Cause and effect in whichever means never fail. Ultimate cause and effect is the forced upon you by your past karmas. You must experience a reality, cause and effect. That there is a time delay between what we do and how we experience it. That we can verify with logic and understanding over and over until it becomes solid. And then the world we live in, let's take my mom for an example. She has a cancer growing in her pancreas. In the world that I live in, that is treated with some success with chemotherapies, with some success with surgery, with some success with herbal medicines, with some success with nutrition, with some success with nothing. And if I look at all those things, most of the success is with surgery, less success is with chemo, sometimes miracle cures with nothing, and the rest. So with the best of the experience that I've got, any of those things could be the way my mum cannot have cancer. Any of those things could be. But in my reality, the likelihood in this world is that it's chemo or surgery if she can do it, right? It does not conflict with the fact that it's still empty of a nature. Why? Because some people that do chemo die, and some people that do chemo don't die. Some people that do surgery survive, some people that do surgery don't survive. You can't be in the surgery, although the information is that it's more likely in this world. So I have to see myself plant the seeds towards my mother that are more likely to help her, like I see help helping. Does that make sense? Yeah, I can't say, Mom, go into a cave and think nothing and it'll be fine. Because if I do that, there is a part of my mind that knows that she's not getting chemo. And chemo sometimes helps. Yeah? So if I say to her, only do green juices and hope for the best, I still have to admit that in the reality I live in the world of 2018, the world that I'm experiencing, that doesn't always result. And if I think that's the cure, it's a problem. The cure cannot come from that. The cure comes from my mother's karma, her own seeds that will be forced to experience an otherwise empty treatment as giving a result. Yes or no? So my mother has to turn on the karmas of helping everybody else heal. Every time she helped somebody get over some sickness, every time she tended to her kids, she needs those karmas right now to be projected on chemo or on green juice or on something. But she still has to see herself trying to save her own life, which would mean she has to either pick chemo or surgery or whatever she really believes is the right thing. And what comes up, we still don't know. But we do know that the karma I'm planting right now towards my mom, meaning I'll take care of her health and advise in the best possible way that I understand reality to work nominally, whilst I keep my mind on the way that it works ultimately, that must give a result to whom? To me. And the work that my sister's doing to help her, who's that going to result for? And the work my brother's doing to help her, the emails, the research, who's that going to help? And does it help just me, or does it me and my world? Does it help my brother or my brother and his world? Does it, because is the projection just in here, or is the projection of reality here? And is my mother not in that world?
Yeah.
So if I've activated my karmas to try and bring up every time I've healed or helped heal, my brother's doing the same, my sister's doing the same, and we're all activating our collective karmas, which include the very strong actions we're doing right now in the nominal sense, yeah, then we should see a result equal to that. When will we see it? When will we experience our loved ones get healed? In the future, that we can be sure. But it's in the future. I don't know when. Yeah.
Well, one solution though is also just no matter the time that she lives, because in the statistics of 1 year, 5 years, 10 years.
All of these things we have at our disposal, and a big mistake for spiritual seekers is like spiritual bypassing, right? It's like, I'm a spiritual person. I'm going to think of my mom's karma. Good luck, mom. Seriously, it's easier because facing the reality and the complexity is not easy. Yeah. Do I understand, like I've done this for over 20 years now, do I understand that every single movement of body, speech, and mind must give me a result? I say yes. Yeah, I know that every time I say something, I've developed the watcher in my mind, and we all have it, but because you meditate, you develop it much stronger, and it's a pain in the ass. No, because it really is, right? You've started meditating, that watcher is showing you what a stupid mind you have, way more than before you started meditating. So whatever got you to meditate is like, I'm becoming spiritual. The first 3 years is like, you're an ass. Because or however long that lasts. Because you're actually developing the awareness, the watcher that's seeing things you weren't paying attention to before. They were there, but you just weren't seeing them. So I love those memes of what people think spiritual people are, and there's like these people on the beach going, and what real spiritual people are, and this woman's like, her hair is crazy, and she's burning, and she's like traumatized. And that's real. So I am so solid on cause and effect, the way I've described it, in the ultimate way, that my mind is projecting a reality that shifts like that. That to me is way more congruent to truth than this being an object that can bring you happiness from its own side. That is not. I know because some people have it and want the next one, and I know some that have it and are happy, and some are not happy. Having this object ain't making you happy. Happy is in you. And so is enlightenment, and so is freedom. It ain't in objects, it even ain't in the way you relate to people. It's in you being projected. And the source and the core of that is identity. And we'll get to that the next time we do a course like that. How do you get to deconstruct the ultimate thing, which is I am. I am. Yeah. That thing. If you deconstruct that, there's nothing to be attached to, there's no disappointment, blah, 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 and you still exist, you don't disappear. But I digress again. There's a list in the text that says mental afflictions are things that disturb your mind, right? They hurt your peace of mind. The removal of these, imagine a consciousness, a mind that has not even an instant of being disturbed. The removal of this is called nirvana. The definition of nirvana is the permanent cessation of all mental afflictions. That's it. That's nirvana. No more movement of mind that had even the slightest disappointment, even the yuckiest, and you've all been able to do some part of that. Who's been happy before in their lives? Put up your hand. Okay, so you've been able to experience happiness. Congratulations. It means you have the technology to make that happen again. It's in your mind. And if you could do it for 1 second, you can do it for 2 minutes. And if you can do it for 2 minutes, you can do it for 3, and you can do it for 5. And if that's true, you can do it for a lifetime. And if that's true, you can do it until this time doesn't end, until the end of time. Because you have the place where that can occur, which is your consciousness. How do you do that? Remove mental afflictions, the ultimate enemy. And so the text says you should think what a pain in the ass these mental afflictions are, and they give you a list of what they do to you. They leave you powerless. When you have an anger attack, when your mind gets afflicted, doesn't matter how kind you've been to others, you are completely powerless to cause your own enlightenment, to create the causes for happiness. At that moment, is that up there or not? Am I just talking? Yeah. Anyway, this is the list. Leave us powerless. They send us to unthinkable suffering. Why would they send us to unthinkable suffering? The mental afflictions grow, but why would they cause suffering?
Oh, I'm sorry, because you would have harmed people.
Correct.
Because of them, and that harm is
excellent.
done.
Good. The time they hurt us is infinite. Why?
Because we're planting more seeds for more mental affliction.
Because you don't know when they're gonna rise.
Mm-hmm.
The when they're gonna rise. Like when they put naturally.
The text is saying to us, okay, here's a quick sentence, and it's beautiful reading. I wish you could go and look at it. It's on the website. I can put it up on the Facebook link. This text is saying, you think suffering is out there. Someone said a bad word to you, you got upset. Someone broke up with you, you got upset. You lost a bit of money, you got upset. You had a pimple, you got upset. You lost your hair, you got upset. You came to a Buddhist class, you got Hector, you got upset. You know, I wanted the temperature to be like this, it's like that, you got upset. And you think it's all those objects that are causing your suffering. And the common denominator is you. And I don't mean you, the thing you identify as you. It's the raw awareness, the consciousness that is witnessing this stuff. That got upset. And very quickly, you're like, why am I feeling this way? It's you. It was the coconut ice cream. All coconut ice cream must be banished. Build a wall against coconut ice cream. And then we do actions that cause walls being built towards us. But we think we're dealing with coconut ice cream. No, I just did an action and I must get the result of that action. And the same with the weather, and the same with the music, and the same with the friend. And so when you get this wisdom, the wisdom that causality isn't the way it appears, you begin to change your behavior, and that's so hard. Because people will come up to you and say, I don't like your face. And that's not nice. Yeah, it's not nice. But if you're in a good mood, you'll be like, you're an idiot. Give me more. You know, if you're in a bad mood, you're like afflicted all day. If it was in the words, everyone should feel exactly the same all the time. The fact that it's not in the words means that sometimes you can laugh it off, sometimes you can carry it for months. She said, I've got a bad face. And so a mental affliction is in you, and having that there is what will cause you to act. And so the natural progression is, if you could see that, you would first of all stop acting to try and stop more mental afflictions, which is where they came from in the first place. You would stop harming others. You would try and do that. That's a pratimoksha vows. Most of them are, don't hurt other people. Buddha said, if this is too philosophical for you, here's a list of 10 things you should not do. Don't remove the life out of other beings, because that will reduce your life. You don't have to know the philosophy, but if you don't want to know it, just stop killing things. Yeah? Stop taking other people's stuff if you want to have abundance. So he gave this list of cause and effect that will produce a world that had less afflictions. And then that gave you more of a chance to go deeper into the thing that is impossible for us naturally, which is really take care of others without a single moment of selfishness. I mean, who's been able to, honestly been able to say that even for a fraction of a second, you've taken an action on this planet because you cared for another being so much that you're like, screw it, doesn't matter what happens to me, I want them happy. Who's done that? Yeah, that's it. That's the seed of this thing. And that is liberation. Because doing that over and over is what will produce the results that are equal to that, which is everyone doing something for you to get everything you want, regardless. Yeah. So anyway, that's the text says, you guys should think over and over how these mental afflictions in you are so bad that you want to avoid them. And then I think Buddha, in the text, they list the top 6. Out of all of the 84,000, here's a list. There's lots of different lists. What do you think the top 6 are?
Giving.
No. Someone punched Stephen for sarcasm, but with kindness. So what would be some terrible things you can put in your mind that would afflict it, that afflict your mind so much that blind you to do stupid actions? Anger, jealousy, greed,
craving.
Oh, right, okay. Liking things ignorantly, disliking things ignorantly. Meaning, so usually in the wheel of life, you see this as anger and, what is it? Craving and anger or something. You don't have instances of craving every millisecond. These are states of mind we have every millisecond, right? I think this is nice, so I ignorantly like it, which puts me in a place where I want to shove it down everybody's throat, even those that are pretending not to like it. Yeah. So ignorantly thinking that something has a nature a real affliction that will cause us to go and look for happiness out there, in the job, in the girlfriend, in the money, in the stuff. Same for disliking. There's a negative pride and there's a positive pride. There's actually 9 levels of pride or something. But here it's talking about a pride that makes you think you're better than everybody else, that the affliction would be a thing that would make you harm another. Yeah, I'm better than you, so I'm going to undercut you. Yeah, or even though you appear to be a little bit better than me, there's some pride in me that says, I don't want that to happen. I could be better than you, and therefore I'm going to undercut you. Yeah, so the behavior that these afflictions cause in us are the things that are perpetuating this pride, these afflictions themselves. And then the big powerful one is ignorance, which is the ignorance that misunderstands reality. What is this? A computer for whom? Humans. What is this really? And really is a word for ultimately, at the end of the day, without anybody watching. What is this object? It is empty of having that nature. That's all it is. It is not. Yeah? That's all you could say about this thing. What could it be? A computer. What could it be? A PP pad. What could it be? Currency. It could be anything. Dependent on the observer. That's reality. What's ignorance?
Not knowing that.
It's actually worse than not knowing, right? Because it's definitely a computer. It's misknowing it. It's way more dangerous to not know your enemies. Like, I don't know I've got enemies, than to think my enemies are my friends. Do you see the difference? Like, I'm going to interact with all my friends and they're out to get me, and I don't know. I misunderstand that. It's different to not even know I don't have enemies. Misunderstanding reality is way more dangerous than not understanding reality. So that is a big one. And then doubt is on this list. I'm like, damn, why does doubt get on the list? It's my biggest problem. Yeah. And if you get the moment, it's really worth reading. But it's talking about lazy doubt. Did I put it up there? Yeah, lazy doubt. The doubt that said that you could have overcome, but you're too lazy to go through it. I'll give you an example. I had lazy doubt with Ken Rinpoche. That's why I put him up there. Yeah, holy Ken Rinpoche. He left Tibet, went over to India, created schools to teach the Tibetan refugees Tibetan language, set up Seremay Monastery. He was taught by the teacher of the Dalai Lama. They were contemporaries. He was the head of the Tantric College. He had embodied in his being these 2,500 years of the Buddhist teaching. He could debate like no other. He was like wrathful and powerful. He lived in some shitty place in New Jersey. Weird, right? He taught my teacher every single thing he translated from Tibetan into English, which was the very first time that was done ever in the 90s. And I just thought he was just a grumpy old man when I met him at first. Yeah, like he scared me when I met him. He was this old Tibetan Lama, very traditional, stern face, and he scared me. So my mind, lazy doubt, is like, I'm not going to hang around him too much. Lazy doubt. Yeah, it's like, I'm not sure about him. But with intelligence, which lucky for me, before he passed away, I got it. But what are the chances of meeting a person, a human being who was born like all of us? What are the chances of meeting a being who has internalized these teachings to a degree that they live and breathe them, that they can teach everyone else? That was the only Halampa Geshe who had won debates against all the other monasteries, who was the only head of the secret college that the Dalai Lama himself went to. What are the chances of, out of all the 7 billion humans, with all their insight and knowledge and experience and mastery over their internal world, what are the chances that I would meet someone like that? Yeah, and how rare that creature is. And because of some misunderstanding, oh, I'm scared of hanging out with him, I had lazy doubt, meaning I'm not sure about him. But if I had just gone through the logic of what this person really is on the planet and how short of a time we have the chance to connect with beings with this kind of wisdom, I should have woken up earlier and just been at his feet and said, please teach me. Lucky I did that before I had to leave the US. But I didn't have that with Holy Geshe Michael, even if other people did. So lazy doubt is having all the information there and being able to say, well, I don't fully, like the Buddha also said, don't trust everything I say. You have to figure it out. You have to internalize it. But here is all the information. After you've processed it, make a decision. Commit to the stuff you're doubtful of. And if you've like 80% overcome that doubt, live as if it's 80% and put the 20% on the shelf to figure it out later. So that's what this doubt is like we all have a part of our practice to wake up, a part of our reality that's preventing us from waking up, and we have this lazy doubt about it. And that's a mental affliction that stops us. And then wrong view, I mean, there's five traditional versions here. But a summary of that would be not thinking that anything happens after this body dies, that your mind just disappears. That, in this point of view, would be incorrect. It's been cause and effect for your entire life. You put stuff in your mind pops up. You put bad things in your mind, bad things in your mind pop up. You popped into this world with a bunch of experience already. You felt warm and happy and hot already. You had a tendency for sport or a tendency for love or a tendency for anger as soon as you popped into this world. But then it stops when you die. That would be a wrong view, a view that will prevent you from actually putting in the courses for an experience beyond death that could be sublime. Yeah. What was the word? And this is it, ignorance, the core of all mental afflictions, misunderstanding the world, not knowing emptiness, yeah? Not knowing emptiness is the thing that causes all the other afflictions, because we're grasping to all the things that we think have their nature, because that's our experience. But because it's rooted, because this world, this suffering world is rooted in misunderstanding, the fact that you could understand it means it can be broken. The broken realm can be broken. And you can reach a state of nirvana, enlightenment. Because it's a lie. It's a lie that if you are mean to someone, you're going to be happy. It's not true. It's a lie that your consciousness stops when you die. It's not true. It's a lie that you are unhappy because of coconut ice cream. It's not true. Sorry, Hector. But does that mean that you don't unhappy with coconut ice cream? No, it came from, the negative experience came from a negative experience you put in this consciousness. Stop the negative experience, because it's a lie, and you will be buddha'd, awoken, woke up. Woke up from what? Woke up from the dream that you think this is just computer. It's not. Your suffering isn't caused by that person or that person. It's in here. And because it's in here, you will get the wisdom eye, the eye that sees reality for what it is. And then you still have to work. You still have to plant the seeds that will cause your perfect world. Because it's all dependent arising. 2 more questions and then I'm done. And we get to review and debate them. There's this part of the text where there's the division in old Buddhist thought that says, what about really, really loving this path, this wish to wake up? What about really loving it so much and your holy teacher that got you there, and really hating these mental afflictions? Yeah, Master Shantideva says you should hate these mental afflictions. be angry at them. So there's this debate. Do they mean that you should have a mental affliction to get rid of mental afflictions? Like, is it really anger that you should hold towards anger, for example? Is it really, should you do something to harm someone physically that is trying to harm your teacher? Should you punch them in the face? So there's this debate, and Gyaltsab Je, who's one of Jason Kappa's disciple, sort of clarifies it for us in the commentary. But what do you think the answer is? Because I know some of you like the path of desire. Huh? Yeah, sorry. Misspelling Hector, thank you.
So it seems like the afflictions are not ignorant, it's not ignorant liking to like wisdom. It's not ignorant disliking to dislike affliction.
Why not? What about being angry? For the millisecond you're angry at anger, is that a good mental imprint or a bad mental imprint?
Depends if it's ignorant or not.
Because
if it's ignorant or not.
Which is what she said.
Yeah. It's empty of goodness or bad.
So I can be angry at you?
Well, if you're
and that won't affect my mind?
If you're keeping that view, if you're keeping the view that it is empty of a nature, then it would not be, I guess in the ultimate sense though. I don't know.
Can I
Unless
hold
you're a
anger
Buddha,
in my mind, even if it's directed at anger?
Depends on what you're holding.
Results of that anger.
From my understanding, the skillful use of anger, if it comes up, then you know, oh, I have to look at this. Then the anger shifts where you don't need it anymore. Then you have to work with it.
There's no such thing as anger. So yeah, like, there's no, like, when we say anger, we have to define what we actually mean.
I like that answer. It was like,
I copied this.
I know.
I think it might be a metaphor of anger as this thing, but it's a correct view of fully understanding.
I love all the answers you're giving me. You're saying correct view, no ignorance, not thinking that if I just hold this passionate the is gonna go away. Yeah, like. Do you want to hear Gyaltsab Je's answer?
Yeah.
I want you to think what you think he's gonna say. Because there's two camps about this. There's a bunch of commentaries that says you should be so wrathful and hold anger in your mind, and eventually you could, and then later on in life, you could reduce that anger. Like you could write anger right now to be angry at anger or at your mental afflictions. You can put more anger in your mind to remove anger later, is one view. And later, once you remove that anger, you can remove the anger. That's one view. And Gyaltsab Je says something different. He says, it can't be anger. It's not anger. It might be an energy, but if it's a path that stops anger, it can't be an affliction. So it's not anger. You can use power, but it can't be anger.
Yeah, it doesn't seem logical at all to me, because if you have anger, then you're continuously planting the seeds to have more anger. So I don't see how that would work.
So
it doesn't, right?
But that's if you see yourself as.
And so that's why Rachel's question was good. What do you call anger?
But isn't it that anger is the experience of ignorance? It's like you only are angry because why? Because you think you didn't cause that thing.
Nice. Nice, you're on Gyaltsab Je's camp.
It's just a strong sensation to push suffering away.
And
we call it anger, and that's where like the word is the thing and the word is God and blah, blah, blah. We're just using the same word to describe two different things.
Bottom line is, it can't be anger if it's removing anger, okay? You can't put anger, it's not what you would normally naturally call anger. It's not the thing you're trying to get away from that you're putting in to kick it out.
Yeah, also because of mental affliction, you are afflicted.
Exactly. Which means if you're afflicted, you have ignorance.
Exactly.
Yep.
But if you're actually using something, it's a tool. It's not
Nice.
an affliction.
Yeah, nice. So he then takes a stab or a jab at other commentators who say, no, have anger and later on remove it. He's like, what they mean, if they meant anything wise at all, is like, it's not anger. If it's part of the path, it's not anger. And what they mean by later on it will be removed is like that will show you that there's no anger later. That's all they're saying. Yeah, which is the bottom part of the paragraph. And then the last two questions are what does it mean to perfect the path? Yeah, the summary of this book is you should develop these 6 perfections, these 6 states of mind that are perfected. So what is perfecting one of the perfections look like? You can use giving as an example. So first of all, what are the 6 perfections? The summary of this whole book is we should learn how to do these 6 things. What are the 6 things? Number 1, giving, which means generosity, which means
Giving the Dharma.
oh, good. There's 3 types of giving. Giving physical, giving dharma, giving protection. Cool. Someone's listening. Next thing. Ethics, which means what? Morality, which means?
Vinaya.
Cool, Vinaya. It just means pratimoksha. It means stop hurting others or start taking care of others, right? Because you're planting those seeds. So if you stop hurting, the results of those are going to stop. So be ethical doesn't mean follow the law or the rule of God because he said so or she said so. It's not that, and that took me such a long time. It's like behave like you want your world to be. Be the change you want to see in the world. That's all it means. So if it's true that this is empty and it is the way it is based on my behavior, then I want everything to be blissful and nice and good and positive and energetic and uplifting. Should I be an ass and give everybody coconut ice cream? No. What is the third of the patience, which means?
Not getting angry when.
Yeah, no, I'm not putting them up until everyone's got them. Cheater. Not being angry, not letting your mind get to anger even when you're supposed to. This is hard.
What is what you're supposed to?
What's supposed to means what we would normally in an unexamined way do. Even if Stephen is right to yell at me to say, stop using the stupid example with coconut, you fat bastard, I'm trying to get you to eat healthy. So stop putting that blame on me. Yeah, even if he says that, yeah, and he uses derogatory term, I want to be angry at him. I should be angry. Don't say that in front of my friends. Yeah, even at that point, I should not get angry. That is a mastery over the part of you that creates your world. The last 2 are? The last 3 R's, thank you. Joyful effort, which means feeling good about doing good things. Yeah. And the last 2 are the perfection of concentration, bringing your mind to focus, getting shamatha, getting real concentration, because you're gonna need it if you're gonna fight against your afflictions. Because you're gonna need it if the world persists on appearing this way. You're gonna need complete concentration to go, no, the words that Stephen said are not the cause of this wish to punch him in the face. Even punching him in the face isn't gonna fix it. I need concentration to not punch him in the face. Yeah? And lastly, the perfection of wisdom, which means understanding the things really are, which are empty. Yeah? So you got them all right. Congratulations. Now, if you're there's another list, so don't copy them all down just yet. Why are they in that order?
They allow for each other to work.
How?
They create giving.
You should do that.
You to understand why ethics are important. Keeping your ethics allows you to be patient. Patience brings joyous effort. Joyous effort brings concentration.
Yeah, why does giving
you're just saying this because that's.
Because if you are generous, because when you're generous, if you're keeping other people's minds in your mind, then you are planting the causes for, or no,
Not hurting them.
It's the easiest way to see cause and effect work.
Giving allows people to.
What does it do to you? What does giving do to you? Let's say
it develops your morality.
Why?
Because you're giving to other people, you're in essence causing the.
It frees you from your obsession with stuff.
Awesome! You're both on it, right? That's awesome. You stop your attachment to stuff as the thing that's going to make you happy. Because you're giving it to others, it's generating this ethical behavior. I've got no more attachment to this stuff. Yeah, I don't need the possessions. I'm now developing this giving to the point of, no problem. And it's because it's towards others. It's so you see how awesome it is, right? You no longer have this attachment. It leads to being ethical, how to get things correctly. And then how does that deliver not getting angry?
So is your mind.
No, it's not getting angry, it's ethics.
Oh, sorry, from ethics, how does ethics get to patience? How does ethics?
In a world where all of your needs are fulfilled, like say you get the perfection of giving, right? And like you don't have to worry about needing.
You're disattached from your goods, and now you're more natural, because you don't care about stuff. You're not taking other people's stuff. You're naturally developing your ethics. So now you're developing your ethics.
You're going into the true causes. You're starting to go into the true causes because you start to understand that it's not out there. If it's not attachment from possession.
What's the essence of ethics? Pratimoksha.
You're not restraining yourself from harming.
Yeah, so you see yourself stopping yourself from harming.
So then you're not.
That gives you a kind of discipline of what?
Of not reacting.
Of not reacting, right? Which is, that gives you the ability to not get angry when you're supposed to. So it builds up that muscle. Yeah, you're restraining yourself through ethics over and over and over, builds up that muscle to go, even the hardest thing I can restrain, which is not getting angry when you should. Yeah, when everything's against you and you just want to get angry, you now are developing that muscle, right? And how does that? This is hard for you guys. I think it was hard for me. How does that develop being joyous and putting awesome effort?
It's stopping.
You're free to be happy.
Yeah. Because you're stopping negativity. So
all that's left is rejoicing.
Your capacity to not get angry when you should, how does that make you happy, joyfully?
Because you haven't, you're not playing with other people's minds, and they can be joyful. Like when you
That's cool. I like that. Yeah.
Negativity, other people can.
I like that. It's not the answer in the book, but I like that answer.
If you're not gonna like erupt in anger, you gotta do something else. So it may as well be good.
May as well be good. May as well be happy. The answer is you develop a greater ability to take on hardship. Yeah, because you are now faced over and over. You're facing over and over people in your face yelling at you, and you're just not getting angry anymore. So you become this kind of great hardship because you've got one goal. What's the goal of these 6 perfections? Get enlightened for the sake of everyone else, right? This is your goal. So now you've got the muscle of, I'm not getting angry even if you're like taunting me in my face, even if you're stabbing me on the cross, even if I'm not getting angry. Yeah, and that gives you the capacity to sustain anything for the sake of this wish, this dharma, the dharma that will wake people up. And so everything becomes a joy. You're like, I can do anything. Yeah? So how does that lead to concentration?
You're not disrupting other people's minds. You're creating a situation in which you're witnessing other minds.
To concentrate.
Well, your mind isn't getting disrupted.
No,
But you can't have a
well.
mind that's not disrupted unless you're not disrupting your mind.
It's both of those things in one simple point. Joy becomes attractive, so you just naturally get attracted to it, and it's a deep focus.
When you don't have so many mental afflictions, you can focus a lot.
Because it's a big hardship to sit there and meditate.
Accumulation of
So you've already got the habit of overcoming the hardship. What was yours?
When you don't have all these mental afflictions, it's much easier to focus.
Well, if you're doing something and you feel joyful about it, it's easy to concentrate and stay focused. Why would you do
Nice.
anything
So
else?
how often would you have to do the joyous effort to perfect it? Constantly. So doing it night and day, doing it over and over, lets your mind rest, lets that pond settle from which reality can be reflected, the moon can be reflected, right? And how does that lead to wisdom? How does that lead to ultimate reality?
Because when your mind is constantly on your own.
Yeah, when you're meditating when you've gotten rid of all these mental questions, when you're doing everything with correct, it leads to direct perception.
So both your body and your mind now are stable enough to be able to see reality for what it is. Nothing's harming you, nothing's bothering you. And I like that presentation so much. Yeah. So, and it was around this time when Geshe was reviewing this in the 90s that my visa situation in the US didn't work out. And this presentation was the last thing I took when I never returned. For 9 years, I was evicted from the United States. I didn't know, I couldn't come back.
And this was the last teaching that
the summary this way, Cosmobet was the last teaching before internet, before all that stuff, which meant it was the last thing in my mind, which meant it was the only thing I was going to do. And it's a good list to remember because it will help you wake up.
This is like a natural progression for somebody to get to wisdom, because Geshe Michael always teaches wisdom first. Like, not the ultimate direct perception. Like, he's always like, here's karma and emptiness, and now you can understand why you can do the rest.
Yeah, it's good. No, it's both, right? This is the presentation of why the order was in this order. But in reality, in actually practicing, can you perfect any of the other perfections self-existently?
No.
No. So what do you need? You need wisdom that understands things don't have a nature to actually practice giving. And what's stronger? Giving away stuff, winning nilly, and then being upset about it tomorrow. I'm following the first perfection. I gave away everything today. Today I'm depressed. I've got nowhere to live. I've got nothing to eat. I just have coconut ice cream.
You wouldn't even do that if you didn't think that it possibly could lead to you getting
I could. There's plenty of people that will follow the guru leader, the cult leader and the weirdo, and say, oh, I don't know what to do with my life. Tell me what to do. Give away everything. Okay. I'm not happy.
I'm gonna drink Kool-Aid that is
right. So we do that as humans. We get desperate enough or come to an edge enough and go, I'll do whatever you say, no problem. And all of us have done something like that, where we've gotten so desperate that we don't know how it works. Tell me what to do. Give away everything. Okay, oh, I'm so elated. And then tomorrow. Yeah? And so you need correct view. So that giving versus understanding that the object I'm giving is my projection, the fact that I'm able to give is my projection, the fact that there's any meaning at all in all this garbage we're giving away, he sees it as valuable, that all of this is really swimming in a matrix that doesn't have a nature, but the nature we experience completely comes from our actions, and this action is beautifully given to someone selflessly. Which of the two will have a stronger effect? The second, right? Or just give away everything. Why? It's got wisdom in it. It's aligned to reality as we've been able to ascertain through logic. So that one is more likely to give a powerful effect versus the other one that could cause you suffering. So you can't perfect the perfections until you get to wisdom. So Geshe is always teaching emptiness first. So when you do practice giving and the others, you are doing a higher version of those. Now, did the Buddha perfect these 6 perfections? Is an enlightened being? Huh? Has the Buddha perfected the 6 perfections? Yeah, right?
He went through the path.
He went through the path. He got enlightened, right? This is what this list does. He got enlightened. He must have. Why are there people that don't have stuff on the planet? If he perfected giving, why is there poverty?
Because it's our
Huh?
projection.
What's the human experience, right?
Yeah, but wasn't he in the world? Didn't he perfect giving? And we're all broke, except you.
The disposition of giving. It's like it's your disposition of giving, like having a.
He can't change my karma.
Yeah, but
That's
that
right.
doesn't mean he didn't see
But
people that were broke.
what's the literal translation for number one? Isn't it generosity, which is kind of like a state of being, not necessarily I'm going to give you every single
So do
thing.
you want us to say that he can't affect our mind stream?
No, I want you to say, what's the perfection of giving mean? What's it to perfect one of these perfections?
It's to have.
Is to generate the automatic attitude to give. And that's enough. You don't have to see the result of your giving for the perfection of giving to be perfected. I don't need to see that everybody's tummy is full of food for me to have perfected the perfection of giving material possessions. It comes as second nature. If you have it within your capacity, you just give it. You want to give it. If you see that it doesn't harm anyone, that is to perfect giving and the others. So I guess what we're getting at is, don't think it's I have to practice this thing until nobody at all on the planet is suffering. That's not perfecting, because your world comes from you, from want. The last question has, you can just take a picture and we talk about it next time, because I know it's late. I didn't see how late it is. Yeah, the end of the text is pretty amazing. It's lots of detail on how to elevate all of these perfections. What it is what is it to give, and at what point would you give up your body without this attachment? At what point should you not? And at what point you should? And it goes into these beautiful, bizarre, sexy places where your mind could be free from attachment in a way that is just amazing. And that's all I got for you today. That is the Bodhisattva Charivatara. It summarizes in 6. Next week, we're going to actually, there's no core content other than reviewing this. We're going to talk about all the content we've covered in this year so far, in a practical way. So if you want to have a more open discussion about what a path to awakening looks like, come next week, bring a friend. Yeah, because it'll be more like that. So let's dedicate this, and then sorry to keep you late, but it was worth it, I hope. You get to read. Sangye Shindu Mite Warki Drokunanda Shimla Chuparsho Hidam Guru Ratnamandala Kamniyatayami Diyogu Sunam Yeshe Soto Shin Sunam Yeshe Ejunwe Damba Kuni Toparsho. Thank you so much for being present to these amazing ways of putting our minds on the ultimate, the most magical, the most. And I hope it didn't sound weird. I hope you can see the reality of it for you in this life. It's precious. See you next Thursday if you want to. It's going to be a celebratory entering summer celebration of Dharma. Is there any classes or announcements for the weekend?